Welcome and good afternoon. This is Commish Orr, and today I'm going to give you a little update on the next four games in the Baseball Maelstrom tournament. It's using History Maker Baseball's all-time franchise great sets, and we played four games all in the winners bracket. These were the 8 teams that were left undefeated, that were 2-0 coming into this game. And so we had 4 teams in the National League, 4 teams in the American League playing each other today. So the first place we'll go is Detroit, as the Seattle Mariners, who are the 16th ranked team or 16th seeded team in the American League, were facing the Detroit Tigers. And they surprise once again. Seattle surprises once again. They jumped out early in the third inning with 4 runs on 2-out bases loaded double from Ken Griffey Jr., and then a 2-run single from Alex Rodriguez following that. So they were up 4-0 early against Verlander. Justin Verlander did not have his best stuff today. That carried into the 6th, where they scored a couple more runs. Jay Buhner actually hit a 2-run homer off Verlander to put them up 6-0 at that point. Seattle, meanwhile, Iwakuma was cruising into the 7th inning, had a shutout going until Miguel Cabrera hit a solo shot there in the 7th with 2 outs. And then that was followed by a Charlie Gehringer single, a walk, another single. And so Arthur Rhodes actually came in to try to stop the bleeding there in the 7th inning. And Seattle escaped at that time, allowing just 3 runs, which cut their lead in half. But in the 8th, off of Jack Morris, they would get those runs right back when Brett Boone hit a 3-run homer to put Seattle back up 9-3 at that point. They would score another run in the 9th, and that's kind of where things ended, 10-3. So Seattle dominates Detroit in this one, surprising everyone again. As I said, the lowest seeded team in the American League, and now they've gone 3-0 to start the tournament here. Meanwhile, Detroit will fall to 2-1, and they'll fall down in the losers bracket. They'll get a day off before they face whatever team they face down there in the losers bracket, with a chance to fight their way back up. Next, we head over to New York, as the Miami Marlins were facing off against the New York Mets. Once again, Miami came into this with the number 16 seed in the National League, and they jumped all over Jerry Koosman early in the first inning, scoring 4 runs. Carlos Delgado actually opened things up with a 2-run single. Koosman allowed the first 4 hitters he faced to reach base before Cliff Floyd grounded into a double play. But then he allowed a couple more hits. And as I said, Miami had a 4-0 lead after the first inning. Now, the Mets weren't out of it yet. They actually were slowly chipping away at that lead. Delgado actually added a solo shot in the 3rd for Miami. But New York kept things close enough, as they scored a run in the 2nd and the 3rd. And then in the 5th, Mike Piazza hit a 2-run homer to cut the lead to 5-4. Now, Miami would get one of those runs back in the top of the 6th, when Miami's version of Miguel Cabrera had an RBI single there in the 6th inning. But the Mets weren't done, as Piazza hit his 2nd homer of the game in the 7th to get to within a run. And then facing Rob Nen in the 8th, Jose Reyes would actually hit a solo shot to tie the game in the bottom of the 8th. So heading to the top of the 9th, we had a 6-6 tie, and that's when Tug McGraw came in for the Mets to try to keep things close. But Gary Sheffield, the 2nd batter he faced, hit a solo homer to put Miami back up 7-6. Armando Benitez would come in the bottom of the 9th, and even though they got a guy in scoring position, that's where things were left, as Carlos Beltran struck out to end the game. So Miami, again, another surprise here. They go up 3-0 with a 7-6 win against the Mets. We head over to Los Angeles as the Oakland Athletics facing off against the Angels in LA. And this one was a slugfest as Jared Weaver facing off against lefty Grove, and Grove actually couldn't make it out of, or couldn't even make it to the third inning, as they're in the, Jimmy Fox actually started things off for Oakland with a solo shot in the first. But then in the bottom of the first, Troy Glaus had a 2-run homer followed by a back-to-back homer. Mike Trout hit a solo shot there in the bottom of the first to put LA up 3-1. Oakland would get those runs right back and tie things with a couple of RBI singles from Ricky Henderson. Ricky Henderson started that. And then in the bottom of the second, LA put 3 more runs on the board with a Tim Salmon 2-run shot to kind of cap things off there. So they took a 6-3 lead into the fifth. But Oakland wasn't one to be counted out yet, as they scored a couple of runs there in the fifth inning to cut that lead again. LA would get one of those back in the bottom of the fifth, but Oakland would keep the pressure on with Jason Giambi's solo shot in the seventh. Then facing Troy Percival in the eighth inning, they would actually tie things up. Ricky Henderson with another RBI single there to tie things up at 7. Unfortunately, Oakland could not hold that lead as Gene Nelson came in and had a very rough bottom of the eighth here. After retiring Troy Glaus to start things off, Mike Trout singled and stole a base. Rod Carew and Don Baylor had back-to-back walks to load the bases. And that's when Vlad Guerrero came in and had an RBI single there to get LA back into the lead. When the dust settled, LA actually scored 4 runs there in the bottom of the eighth to go up 11-7 in this one. Percival closed things out as LA wins this one 11-7 in this high-scoring game here. Finally, we head to LA as all eyes were on this one, as the St. Louis Cardinals and the LA Dodgers, 2 of the top-seeded teams in the National League, were fighting it out there in the winner's bracket. And even though the Dodgers took an early lead in the bottom of the second when Gil Hodges hit a 3-run homer off John Tudor, that would be pretty much all that the Dodgers offense would do. The Cardinals actually would get score 4 runs in the fourth off Don Sutton. They had back-to-back homers from Mark McGwire and Albert Pujols to start things off. And then Yadier Molina would hit a 2-run double there in the bottom of in the bottom of the inning, the bottom of that half inning, to put them up 4-3. Now the Dodgers would get that run back to tie things up 4-4, but that would be the only scoring they would do, as Stan Musial had a couple of RBI singles, one to put them in the lead and another to extend that lead, and then McGwire would hit another home run, his second of the game, in the ninth inning to give the Cardinals a 7-4 lead, and that's where things would end. Bruce Sutter came in to close the door, and which he did, striking out the last 2 batters he faced, as St. Louis advances with the 7-4 win. Interesting thing to note about Mark McGwire, he has hit 5 homers in the series. Those 5 homers are the only 5 hits he has. Much like real life, he is either hitting a home run, he's not hitting many singles or doubles or anything like that. So 5 hits, 5 homers for McGwire in this, not in this one alone, but in the 3 games they've played so far. So we take a look at the tournament, and here's where the winner's bracket sits now. In the American League, we will have Seattle facing off against the LA Angels. Down in the losers bracket, as you can see, Detroit and Oakland will be waiting here with a day in between. The next games up are these in the losers bracket. Whoever loses these games will be eliminated. Now to the National League, we see Miami will face off against St. Louis. Determine which of those teams is going to be the winner of the winner's bracket. Of course, that won't make them the winner of the of the entire tournament, but it gets them one step closer. And we have the Mets and the Dodgers here waiting to see who they play down in the losers bracket. As always, you can head over to baseballmaelstrom.com to follow the action, to see the little write-ups on each game and the schedule and the scores and all of that fun stuff. You can click on here to see the stats. That'll take you to the ball stat page where you can see the stats for each team and the players and all of that stuff. Anything you might want to look at is on there. If you have any comments, leave those down below. Be sure to click a like if you liked this video. And I also did a review on History Maker Baseball, my initial thoughts on the game itself. So check that video out if you haven't already. But until next time, you will, as I said, the next video will be the next 4 games in the losers bracket. So be watching for that. And that's where we'll leave things today. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, have a great evening.